In July of 1942, Anne Frank, a young victim of the Holocaust, was suffering a tragedy. She was in hiding, away from the war along with her family, writing about her life and the others around her. Anne's documentation of her life in hiding has shown the people around the world what she and many others had to endure. In writing about the atrocities of life in hiding and the war, Anne Frank has successfully left behind a legacy of triumph. Anne Frank was born June 12, 1929 in Frankfurt, Germany. Right before Anne's family moved into the secret annex, a hidden attic apartment behind her father's business, she received a precious gift, a diary that she would hold dear to for many years to come. This diary contained all her feelings and thoughts about her situation in hiding and the deadly war that has tormented her. Anne had to move away into a hidden annex as her father said that the war would soon reach them. They packed as much as they could take with them and moved away into the annex. It took a while for the family to get used to the cramped spaces, minimal amount of food, and the fact that they constantly had to stay quiet to survive. However, the family managed to stay alive while many others couldn't. The first few months in hiding were tough, not just for Anne, but for her sister Margot Frank and both her father and mother Otto and Edith Frank. Anne's father also asked 3 other survivors to assist them in a time of need. Even though the family had rations, clothing, and a home, it was difficult for them to stay hopeful. The constant stress of staying silent and the outside war that took place took a toll on the sanity of the occupants in the annex. This sprouted arguments between Anne and her family. She felt as though no one understood or cared for her. However, even with all this, she tries to stay hopeful and acts as a leader in difficult times. She showed strength, even in the worst of times. As the war raged on, the fear of being bombed only escalated. At times, that is all they could think about. Not only can they hear the planes ready to bomb, they can also hear the screams of people being dragged away into trucks that would lead to the concentration camps, which would most likely be their doom. Anne Frank thought that the Germans wouldn't take everyone in the annex. However, they took everyone that did not conform to the Aryan rule. The Aryan race is what the Nazis called the master race. Hence, they caused mass genocide on the major population. After the first year and the secret annex members started getting used to the noise and the chaos outside, conflict rose within the group. Anne's father and mother began to argue about whether or not it was a good idea to hide in the secret warehouse. They were low on rations, the people were dispirited, and patience was running out. It is now 1944. The war is now in its late stages and tensions are high as Anne eagerly listens on the radio. Luckily, the group received good information from their hidden radio in the attic. Allied forces have taken a village in France and are pushing back the Axis forces. Winston Churchill also spoke on the radio, and this itself inspired the group to push on no matter how tough their situation is. Even though Anne brings hope to the group inside of the annex, Anne herself experienced depressive tendencies and relied on a member named Peter Van Pels. Anne would talk to him and let out all the emotions she was feeling when her diary was not enough, and this continued on, which helped Anne get over her troubles. Because of Peter, Anne continued to help people like Otto Frank and her sister to not give up. At this point, Anne wonders what would happen once she is free from her safe but lonesome cage. Anne says that she has lost her self-confidence and would struggle to socialize with other human beings. Even with this problem, Anne starts to get optimistic as the Allies are starting to push back the enemies further into their own territory. This good news, however, would unfortunately end abruptly. Terribly, an unknown identity exposed the group within, and SS troopers raided their home. Anne and her sister Margot were taken to a camp where they sadly died to typhus, an infectious disease, a few weeks before the camp was liberated from the Nazis. Anne's mother passed away due to exhaustion and starvation. Peter and August Van Pels was forced to go on the death walk, and Herman Van Pels died to the gas chambers. Even with all this tragedy, Anne Frank's diary was still preserved by an outside helper named Miep Geiss. Otto Frank was the only one that managed to survive and immediately set out for a home to look for his family. When he returned to the annex, he found Miep waiting there and received Anne's diary, which contained all the experiences that she faced. Hesitant at first, he finally read the diary and was shocked at what he found. Otto Frank did not know his daughter as well as he thought he did.
It took me a very long time to read it. And I must say, I was very much surprised about deep thoughts Anne had. Her seriousness, especially her self-criticism. It was quite a different Anne I had known as my daughter. she never really showed this kind of inner feeling. She talked about many things, we criticized many things, but what really their feelings were, I only could see from the diary. And my conclusion is, as I had been in very, very good terms with Anne, that most parents don't know really their children.
Anne sparked a light within the darkness, informing the next generation of kids on the adversity of her era. She showed courage and optimism in the face of terror and death and inspired adolescents as they can connect to Anne's emotions.
Young people write to me, asking questions. Many are writing a diary themselves, calling their diary Anne's diary. They write to Anne as Anne wrote to Kitty. And so, especially in the time of adolescence, they get a lot of confidence and hope for their lives in reading about Anne and her experiences.
Anne Frank's diary played a big part in telling everyone the story of her and the others around her during times of distress and war. She never would have thought that her diary that she poured her life, blood, and soul into would make it through the war. And yet, she did, wanting to tell the world all about the struggles of surviving through the strife. Anne Frank suffered more than what most people can handle. She went through years of hiding and months of being trapped in a camp designed to kill. However, she told a story that generations of people will remember forever. Throughout Anne's whole life, she has experienced tragedy, day after day, night after night. However, her legacy left behind is a treasure that would teach future generations to come. Anne Frank's final wish has been granted by her own father, to be a spark within the dark.